Morning fellas, welcome back to another Villa on Tour video, the second one in 2 days. I'm on an absolute roll. Today is my Premier League predictions and they just are going to be 100% wrong. Not much I can do about that. I'll probably react to them at the end of this season because they're going to be that wrong. But it's just for a laugh. If I do offend you and your club, then deal with it. Like, there's not much I can do, it's just my opinion, don't take it too seriously. But I've taken into account all the transfers, the managerial situations at each club. I'm just going to explain my thoughts on each club, where they're going to come, how they're going to do, the recruitment, etc, etc. If you haven't watched the video I put out yesterday, it was a video based on Aston Villa's transfer business in this summer, how I think it went, did it go well, did we sign enough players? Well, obviously we did, we signed them in 13, but go and check that one out after you've watched this one, link up there. If you do want to enjoy this video, please do leave a like, subscribe if you are new, because we have Tottenham away tomorrow and I'm absolutely buzzing. That video should be out on Sunday morning, so keep an eye out for that one. But without further ado, let's get into my Premier League predictions. Make sure to stick around to the end of the video as well, because I can assure you some of the later predictions are a little bit out there, so stay around for them. But I'm going to start from the bottom, work my way up. 20th position, I've gone Sheffield United. Now, they came second last season. They did absolutely incredibly well last season. Chris Wilder, I've got a lot of respect for him. He's similar to Dean Smith. It's his boyhood club that he's managing. I just don't see them staying up this season. They haven't lost anyone major, to be fair to them. They've got Dean Henderson back, he's a good goalkeeper. They've signed Muse or something like that from Bournemouth to be their leading goal scorer alongside Ollie McBurney, which they signed for 20 million. But Muse has scored 5 goals in over 70 games for Bournemouth in the 3 years he's been there. And he's £10 million. That's a ridiculous fee for a player that isn't known for his goal scoring. And to stay up in this division, you need to score goals. So Ollie McBurney, for me, is a championship player. He may surprise a few next season in the Premier League, but I just don't see it happening for Sheffield United. I think Callum Robinson is an okay signing, but again, he's another championship player. I think Chris Wilder's a good manager. Like I said, he could work wonders with these players, but I just don't see it happening. Jagielka at the back is a good signing. A little bit of Premier League experience, which is vital. Ravel Morrison is a risky one that could go either way. I think they signed him on a 1-year contract. I was listening to a podcast from 5 Live. They were talking about Ravel Morrison, and he's a good footballer. When he was at Man United back in the day in his youth, he was a very good footballer. It's just mentally, is he there? Is he going to be able to... You know, they were talking about he didn't turn up to training when he should have done, and that's not good enough if you're going to be a Premier League player. So, for me, I don't think they're going to be a success. I'd like to see them stay up. I like Sheffield United, but for me, I think they're going to come at bottom of the league. In 19th position, I've put Brighton and Hove Albion. Now, last season, towards the end of last season, they were being very close to going down. I think it was between them and Cardiff. I think Cardiff beat them on their own turf, Brighton, so it was very close. They just crumbled towards the end of last season. They sacked Chris Hughton, which I was a little bit shocked about. They got Graham Potter in from Swansea, sorry. He did a good job, Graham Potter. He's not the most experienced. He's had 1 year in England, and that was in the Championship. So it's going to be a tough one. They signed Trossard from Genk, who's only had experience in Belgium, £15 million. I know Villa are interested apparently in him, but they signed Morpie as well, striker for 20 million, championship striker. Not much experience in the Premier League, much like Adam Webster, their centre-back from Bristol City. So they could surprise a few. If Potter gets these players working under a system, then I'm not sure. But I just don't see it happening. I think Brighton have had, what, 2-3 years in the Premier League now. I think it's their time to come down, unfortunately. I think they're going to come at 19th. Right, 18th position. Steve Bruce's Newcastle United. Newcastle should have done all they could to keep Rafa Benitez. They should have given him the money he wanted, because he is a very good manager. And to sack him and getting Steve Bruce, it shocked me, it shocked the football world, I think it's safe to say. Steve Bruce treated Sheffield Wednesday awfully. He left them in the crap basically, even when Sheffield Wednesday treated him well when they gave him that month off when he first signed. I think he was slightly disrespectful in the way that he went, but I think he was tactically inept at Villa in the Championship. You saw in the playoff final when we lost to Fulham, he didn't know what he was doing tactically. It was the wrong team. It was just tactically wrong. And if he does that in the Championship, how is he going to cope in the Premier League against the big boys? I don't see it happening. They've splashed the cash a little bit, to be fair. They signed Almiron in January. He's a very good winger. I like him. Joelinton as well from Hoffenheim, I believe, for 40 million. But the one for me is Andy Carroll. They got him back. Name me a more Steve Bruce signing than Andy Carroll up front. I just don't see it happening. Andy Carroll's got a lot of injury concerns. They signed Saint-Maximin as well from France. He's a good player, but I just don't see it happening. I can see, it wouldn't surprise me if they sacked Steve Bruce towards the end of the season. They somehow managed to claw themselves out of it. But I'm basing this on if Steve Bruce was there for the whole season, I think they would get relegated. I just don't see Steve Bruce being successful there. I know it's his boyhood club, but I just don't see it happening. And for that reason, I think they're going to get relegated in 18th place. In 17th place, just escaping relegation, I've put Burnley. Now, they've let their captain go to Villa, Tom Heaton. I think that's going to be a massive miss. Don't get me wrong, I think Nick Pope is a good goalkeeper, but Tom Heaton's just that class above. He's got the experience, and their biggest signing, Burnley, was Jay Rodriguez. And don't get me wrong, that's a good signing. He was very, very good for West Brom last season. But I just don't see them pulling out any stops. I know they came 7th a couple of years ago, and that shocked a lot of people. They were close to relegation last year. I think they'll be very close. They'll be in the battle. Sean Dyche is a very, very good manager, don't get me wrong. I've got a lot of respect for him. Burnley, they've got a good side. They know how to operate with the limited sort of resources that they've got. So I think they will just escape relegation, but just. In 16th place, I've put the team that won the championship last season, Norwich City. Now, Norwich have spent the least in the Premier League, and for a recently promoted side, you very rarely see that. I think they've spent like just over £1 million, and they've brought in a lot of loan players, to be fair, but I just don't see how you can get promoted. And don't get me wrong, they had a very, very good squad last season, but how can you get promoted and only spend £1 million? I know they've got financial worries. I know the owner there is very tight on the FFP situation, but I think it will be close. They'll be in the relegation scrap with Burnley, with Newcastle, etc. But I just don't see how you can spend that sort of money when you've just got promoted. It's going to be tough. Like people like Vrancic, people like that, they are very, very good. And I think they were 100% ready to make the step up to the Premier League. But I think they probably should have spent more. But I do think they will survive though, just. I think Daniel Farke's a very, very good manager. He knows what to do. It's like the Huddersfield sort of mould from a couple of years ago. He's a good manager. The money that I have spent though has been fairly savvy. They've brought in Ralph Fairman from Schalke, who's a good goalkeeper. Sam Byron for under £1 million from West Ham to fill in the right back spot. Few good acquisitions there. They've got a lot of good players, but I think it'll be tight, but I think they will survive. I reckon they'll come at 16th place. 15th, I put Crystal Palace. Now, Crystal Palace does not seem to be a happy camp at the moment. Zaha handed in a transfer request the day before he wanted to go, which is a little bit mad. He should have done it a little bit earlier. They've lost Wan-Bissaka, and I think the whole Zaha situation is not good for the dressing room. It's going to be Roy Hodgson's job to sort of rectify that. Gary Cahill's a good signing. If Benteke can get going again, hopefully he does, because I like him. They've brought Jordan Ayew back. I've signed him again. I think they'll come 15th. It'll be tight. I think they won't do as well as they have done in the past. Zaha, if he knuckles down, they'll be okay, but for me, 15th place. Here we go then, lads. 14th, Aston Villa. That is where I think we will come this season. Now, people have said in the past, right, I would be happy with 17th place, but I do not think that's what we should aim for. I think we should aim to go top half, whatever. I think we should aim as high as possible. We should go into every game trying to win. But if you gave me 17th place now, I would probably take it. But I don't think that's where we should aim. I think they're two different things. I think we've brought in a lot of good players. Now, I talked about it in yesterday's video. People say we're doing a Fulham, like, just shut up. Like, we've brought in a lot of good players. Players who have played with Villa before, the loan players who have played with Smith before, Hotter, Konsa, players who have got connections amongst them, Douglas Luiz with Wesley, El Mohammadi with Trezeguet, etc. I think that we've done savvy business, brought in a lot of good players, we've splashed the cash, we've spent the most in the Premier League by a long way in terms of net spend. So I think we will survive, I think we'll be okay. Let me know your thoughts on Villa, because I think the majority of people watching this video will be Villa fans. So let me know where you think we'll come. I think we should aim as high as possible, but I think for me, 14th place, I'd be very happy with that. I think as long as we progress in the season to come, that'll be good. In 13th, I've put Southampton. I don't really have too much to say about Southampton. They brought in Danny Ings for 20 million, which is a lot. Che Adams as well from Blues. They let Target go obviously to Villa, but that's only it. They've only signed really Ings and Che Adams, so I don't think they're going to go full out. They've got a good squad. I like their manager. I believe his name's Hassan Hüttl. I think I've got that right. I like him, good young German manager. I think he's got a lot of potential. They did have a few good results towards the end of last season. They only just escaped relegation, but I think they'll be okay. 13th place, I think they'll take that, and I think that's where they'll come. 12th, I've got Bournemouth. Eddie Howe, fantastic manager. How he's still there, I'm not too sure. He's still very young. I think he'll get his move eventually, but he's a very, very good manager, and I think he got Bournemouth to 9th either last year or the year before, which is just incredible for a club of Bournemouth's size. They signed Lloyd Kelly from Bristol City, the left back. They signed a lot of young players. Harry Wilson coming in from loan from Liverpool, I think is a good signing going forward to support the likes of Callum Wilson, etc. David Brooks was phenomenal last season, one of the best young players in the Premier League. I think they've done well to keep hold of him. Hopefully he can have a really, really good season because I like him. But I think Bournemouth, they take 13th. I think that's where they'll come. They've got a good side, good young side. Hopefully they do well. 11th place, this may offend a couple of Wolves fans, but I put Wolverhampton Wanderers now. They did unbelievably well that season, coming 7th. But I think Europa League football might just take out of them. I've talked about it already with Burnley. They came 7th and they had Europa League football and they nearly got relegated. But I think Wolves have got a better squad than that Burnley side did. They've let Cavallero go. They've let Costa go back to the Championship on loan, I believe. But they've made a lot of good acquisitions. You look at bringing in Jimenez on a permanent for like £30 million is a fantastic signing. Dendoncker as well, bringing him in from loan, making that permanent, I think is a very, very good signing. Don't get me wrong, I think Nuno is a very, very good manager. He knows what he's doing. But the only thing is the Europa League thing. I'm not being biased. I think the Europa League taken out of them on a Thursday night. You saw they went to Armenia last Thursday, yesterday. They've got a game on Sunday. That's just going to take out of them. I don't think their squad's particularly big either. So that's why I think they'll come 11th. I think they'll take 11th as well, playing in the Europa League as well. I think that'll be, again, a successful season for Wolves. I've seen a few people saying they'll get top 4, but no, not for me. I think 11th is where I'll put them, and that's not me being biased, that's not me being offensive to Wolves. That is honestly where I think they'll come. And let me know, Wolves fans, because I always get Wolves fans watching my videos, so let me know where you think you'll come. Is Europa League gonna hinder you this season? I think it will. Let me know. Moving in to the top 10, 10th place, I've got Watford. They had a bit of a funny deadline day yesterday. They were trying to sign Ismaila Sarr from Stade Rennais, I believe, in France, and they weren't looking like they were going to get him, but then they did eventually for £40 million, which is a good signing. He's a very quick winger. But they also signed Danny Welbeck on a free transfer. I'm not sure if that's just backup, but I don't see the point in that. I think he's a very injury-prone player. I don't like the look of that. But they did so well last season, getting to the FA Cup final. I know they beat Wolves in the semi-final, which was a good result, even when they were 2-0 down. In the final, yes, they got battered, but they did so well to get there. In the league as well, they look good. I like their manager. A lot of good players there. Delafeu, I'm a massive fan of him. I think he could be one of the best players outside the top 6 this season. That's a big shout. But I like Watford's side. I think they've got a good side. I like the way they play. I think they'll just sneak into the top 10 there, coming in at 10th place. In 9th position, I've got West Ham United, who actually have spent a lot of money in this summer transfer window. I think they've smashed their record signing of Sebastian Haller from Frankfurt, I believe it was, for £45 million, and they needed a striker. They've had a few issues with strikers over the years, West Ham. Chicharito doesn't really fire. They've let Andy Carroll go to Newcastle United, so they had to sign someone. They've gone big. Fair play to them. Haller's a good player. We shall see if he does succeed coming in from foreign league into the Premier League. But they've also splashed the cash on Fornals from Villarreal, I think it was. A good Spanish, technically gifted, phenomenal dribbler, centre attacking midfielder, just behind the striker, for just under £25 million. I think we were in for him as well, Villa. So I think he's had a very good pre-season, Fornals. Look forward to seeing him link up with Haller, because that's a very expensive forward line. Lanzini, if he can pick up the form, I know he's had injury problems. But yeah, I think West Ham has splashed the cash. They've brought in a defender as well. He's highly rated from Portugal. Forgot his name, unfortunately. But I think they've recruited well. It could go either way with West Ham, but I think they'll just sneak into the top 10. I think they've got a good manager in Pellegrini as well. So I think they'll come 9th, which I'm sure they'll take. But I think West Ham are a sort of club that, in the coming years, splashing this sort of cash, a new stadium, are fighting for this 7th, 8th spot. And I think this season they'll just fall behind that and they'll come 9th. In 8th position, I've put Leicester City. Now, I like Leicester. They've got a good side. They've brought in Ayoze Perez for 30 million. I think he's going to be a backup to Vardy potentially. But they've got a good squad. They brought in Yuri Tielemans, who was very, very good for them last season, for like 45 million, which is a good signing. They brought James Justin in as well, young right back who we were in for, but he chose to go to Leicester City instead. They've brought Dennis Pratt as well, something like that, a good midfielder. So they've splashed the cash, Leicester City. I think they had to. And I'm a massive fan of Brendan Rodgers. He did so well when he came in last season. I think he picked up more points than the likes of Chelsea and Arsenal, I think. Something along those lines. He did very well when he came in. And that was halfway through the season. So with a full pre-season, with a full, signings that he wanted to make, I think Leicester could really make a push for this 7th, 8th sort of spot. But I'll put them in 8th spot, and I'm sure they'll take that. In the coming years, though, if they keep hold of these players, if they keep hold of Brendan Rodgers, who knows? I think maybe they could push into the top 6. But this season, I'm sure they'll take 8th, and that's where I think they'll come. Now, this is where it may get a little bit controversial. This is an interesting one. 7th place, outside the top 6, Chelsea Football Club. Now, Frank Lampard did a very good job in his first year of football at Derby last season. But not this season. They've had a transfer ban. The only player they've brought in is Kovacic. He's a good midfielder, but they've let a lot of people go. Hazard, they've brought in Pulisic as well. Hazard for like £60 million. Drinkwater even yesterday. Their squad looks very thin, and I know they've got Champions League football going all around the continent. They need a big squad. Don't think they have that. Lampard, he's going to have to bring in the young players. Abraham, Mason Mount, Tomori. I just don't see how they're going to get in that top 6, even top 4. I don't see it happening. I think it's going to be a difficult season for Chelsea, unfortunately. But if you're Chelsea, I think Chelsea are an unknown quantity going into this season, a bit like Villa, a bit like Wolves. Just let me know if you are a Chelsea fan, how you think your season's going to go. New manager, young players having to play. Let me know how it's going to go, because I think it is going to be a funny one. As I said, I think they're going to be an unknown quantity, but I think they're going to fall out the top 6, especially with Champions League football. And that's why I've put them in 7th place. Breaking into the top 6 now, and this might shock a few people, Everton Football Club. Now, I know they've spent a lot of money. They like to splash the cash in this summer transfer window. They signed Iwobi yesterday for 40 million, which blows my mind. Iwobi's a useless footballer. He'll probably score against us for Everton, but 40 million for Iwobi. I think there's better players out there. That just blows my mind a little bit, but it's still a good signing to an extent. I think Fabian Delph for 8 or 9 million is a good signing for a low fee. He can bring leadership qualities. He can play midfield, left back as well. So as much as I don't like him, I think he'll be a good utility man for Everton. They've signed Andre Gomez as well. I know he's on loan there last season. He's a good signing from Barcelona. So they've splashed the cash, Everton. I know they've done that in the past. It hasn't really worked for them. I only think they'll break into the top 6 because of Chelsea's downfall. But it'll be a tough one. I think they'll be pushing Everton, but I think they will get 6th place just, and I think that'll be a very, very successful season for Everton. I think they'll take that. Now, 5th place, Manchester United. Now, they're the only team in the Premier League to spend more money than Aston Villa, and that was only because they spent £80 million on Maguire. Blows my mind, it really does. They could have signed Alderweireld, who had a release clause of 25 million. Manolas went from Roma to Napoli, I believe, for 30 million. Get them both in, you've still got 25 million to spare for the price you paid for Harry Maguire. I think it was ridiculous. They've signed Wan-Bissaka as well. Another player who's at a massively increased price because he's English and he's plays in the Premier League. But I think it's good recruitment, but the thing that worries me is, from Manchester United's point of view, is where are the goals going to come from? They let Lukaku go. His head wasn't in the right place, Lukaku. He went to Inter Milan for 70 million yesterday. Where are the goals going to come from? Rashford, is he going to score you 10 goals? Mason Greenwood, I know he had a good pre-season, but for a youngster, is he going to get you 10 goals? No, he's probably going to get you 6 or 7 max. Martial, he hasn't always striked me as a player whose head is in the right place. So I think goals is going to be an issue. Again, I don't really see their defensive region sorted out massively as well. Maguire's good, but who's going to partner him? If anything, I think it should be Tuanzebe. I think Tuanzebe and Maguire would work well together, but Man United, they'll probably stick Chris Smalling next to him, and I don't think that's the right thing to do. So I think they'll get 5th, and I think they'll probably take that. Arsenal coming in at 4th place. I think they've had a good transfer window, to be fair. I think where they needed to focus on was centre-back. They waited till deadline day to bring in David Luiz for a good fee, to be fair. I know David Luiz is 32 years old, maybe got 1 or 2 years left in him. Is he better than Mustafi? Yes. I think for £8 million is a good fee as well. But going forward, I think Arsenal, that's where they are going to thrive this season. Pepe is a good winger, £72 million, whatever they paid for him. It's a very good signing. Aubameyang on the other side as well. Lacazette up front, that is a very scary front three. Ceballos as well in the midfield is a good signing on loan from Real Madrid, but I just don't see defensively that's where they're going to be let down this season. David Luiz and Socrates is a good centre-back pairing. Tierney from Celtic is a good signing on the left-hand side. Bellerin, they've improved, don't get me wrong, they've improved defensively, but only just. I think they still need that big marquee centre-back, the likes of, I don't know, Koulibaly or Rugani or someone like this, they need someone like that to maybe come in alongside David Luiz, or, you know, just start again next season. But I think they will scrape top 4. They'll just scrape it. Now, third place, the side that we open our Premier League account to tomorrow, Tottenham Hotspur. They've had a good transfer window. Unfortunately, they haven't got Son for the game against us. Ali, I don't see Ali as a really, really good player. I don't get it with Dele Alli. I don't think he's very good. It's not like Daniel Levy to pull his finger out. They tried to get Dybala, that fell through, but I think the signing of Lascelles on loan, who they're looking to make permanent in the summer for like 50+ million. Sessegnon's a good signing for a cut fee as well. When Fulham got promoted, there was rumours of like 50 million he was going to go to Tottenham for, but that was never going to happen. Ndombele, I think I've said that right, he's a good signing, a good hard-hitting defensive midfielder. I think that's what they needed. So I think they'll be good this season, Tottenham. Kane, if he stays, I think if they don't make a real good push, Kane might go if they don't win anything, but we shall see. In terms of this season, I think they'll come third. Now, top 2. Who do I think is going to win the league? Not Liverpool. Some of you may know that I do not like Liverpool. I don't like their fans, but I think I like the way they play football. I think they'll get second this season. I think they haven't made any major additions at all. I know that they've signed that Harvey Elliott from Fulham. He's not going to play any football at all. So I think they've kept the core of their side. They haven't let anyone major go, apart from Mignolet and Danny Ings. So I think they've kept the core of the side there, and they're really, really going to make a push to win the Premier League this season. They've done the Champions League, been there, done that. I think this is the year where they're really, really, really going to go for the Premier League. But I just don't see them pipping Manchester City. It was very tight in the Community Shield final, we saw that. It could go either way, don't get me wrong, it really could go either way. But for me, I just don't see Liverpool pipping it this season. So, you know what that means? I think Manchester City are going to win the Premier League this season again. They're just a ridiculously good side, and even having the major success of last season, they've gone into this season with a lot of good additions as well. Scott Carson, what a signing on loan from Derby. That really is a funny one, it blows my mind. But in all seriousness, they've signed João Cancelo, they've signed this Rodri lad, who I think is a backup to Fernandinho, because Fernandinho is getting on a little bit now, but I think that's a really, really good signing. Rodri's a very good player. Is he the next Sergio Busquets? We shall see. I think they'll win the league. I think they will. I love the way they play football. I think Sterling, Guardiola's done absolute wonders with Raheem Sterling. He's a very, very good player. I think Man City will win the league, don't get me wrong. I don't think it'll be massive like it was a couple of years ago. I think Liverpool will push them all the way like they did last year, but I think it'll be close. But that's that. Do let me know what you think about my predictions. Don't have a go at me in the comments, like it really doesn't matter what I think, but let me know what you think, because I'll be interested to see what you lot are saying. If you have enjoyed the video, please do leave a like, subscribe if you are new. Tottenham video out on Sunday, I'm sure you're all buzzing for that. The Premier League is back, absolutely buzzing. Subscribe if you are new, and I shall see you at Tottenham Hotspur. Up the Villa.